adults will be remembered by all of us for generations to come because he is such a fine and prolific writer. And we'll speak a little bit more about that in terms of his generous gift to our university in a little while. Two people who have known him longer than I have are with us today. Leo Kane, who founded the Department of Special Education at San Francisco State, went on to become president of Cal State University at Dominguez Hills, and then luckily for us came back to the university and continues to lead us in our joint doctoral program and to help us with our instruction in this department. But and I have no question but that Leo Kane has known Berthold probably longer than I have. Leo, would you like to say a few words?
I'm very glad to be here. I'm recovering from it. My voice doesn't usually sound like this, so if I crack or squeak, well, you'll know the reason. But I'm very glad to be here today. I think I have my dates right, that Berthold came to Berkeley in 1949, is that right? And I came to San Francisco State in 1947, that's a long time ago, when we initiated the first Department of Special Education. And so from almost the beginning of this department, Berthold has worked with the program at San Francisco State over all these years. And we have depended upon him for many, many things, for resources, for lecturing, for working with students, and for really augmenting and helping our program. And so I am personally grateful in terms of the Department of Special Education to acknowledge his contribution to the program, and I'm particularly pleased that he chose to give his library to this institution. I think it's great that he did, and I'm sure he did it partly because of his long association with the faculty here and with the students and knowing so many of the people. So, and I'm very glad to see Gretel again. I haven't seen her for a long time. And I think it's very nice to be able to present something that you have cherished all your life to a place that you know it will be well taken care of and be used. And I think it's very nice to do this when you can see it being done, because I think people appreciate it, and people realize that here is somebody who really wants to do something for the program. So I'm happy to be here, and I want to thank both of you again, and I also want to extend the best wishes of Bill Wilson, the chairman of the department, who had to be in Sacramento today, and he wanted me to tell you that he was very sorry he couldn't be present.
For those of you who are new students to this program, before you leave today, there's something that I'd like you to do. Just because I want you to know what the contrast represents. Ask some of these students what this room looked like before Pete and I came in and cleaned it up this summer, and what the library looked at like next door before Kelly went to work on it. And before we go any further, I would like to tell you that that Sally and Sharon and I all did a little work to make this day happen, but more than anybody else, Kelly Greenwald did. And I was thinking today about Kelly and thinking, there's something wrong with calling someone like Kelly our secretary. She really is our administrative assistant. So you just got to change in title, no more money, Kelly. The other person here who has known Berthold a long, long time and who has collaborated with him on many occasions. In fact, if you explore the library next door, you'll find a book that is written by Lowenfeld, Abel, and Hatlin. Junior author was very junior at that time. These two people taught me an awful lot. And I'm really pleased to introduce to some of you for the first time Georgia Lee Abel, who really built and developed this program at this university, and for whom we can all be very thankful that we have a good program in education of visually handicapped and in orientation and mobility. When she was here, it was excellent. I just try to keep it going. Georgie?
As an aside, Phil, I would sort of like to say that it's not the first time in history that that Abel and Cain and Lowenfeld have been on the same program together. I'm delighted to be here and share in your celebration. I'll try to have my few words, but I've got an awful big subject here to give a few words on. When Sally called me, I thought, oh my, I have so many things I would love to say when Berthold has the time to sit and listen. So you folks join in listening with him. But it is a great pleasure to be here. I'm very thrilled to just think over the past time briefly that I have known Berthold. Not only was he a very good professional person that I idealized, Gretel, I'll tell you, because all women thought this man who came to the United States in 1938 had all this great Viennese charm. But he had all of this scholarship, and we're all trying to be great, like Dr. Lowenfeld. So we got around to writing articles, whether we could write very well or not, you know. We were inspired. I got to know him a great deal through those years at conventions that I attended. And perhaps the high spot in those was when we were together at the White House Conference on Children and Youth in 1950. And it was an absolutely marvelous experience because I realized how many people of an international reputation knew Dr. Lowenfeld personally. It was really an exciting experience. During those years, I was at his school when, shortly after he came, at the time that Leo came, told you about, seeing what went on at the school and how well it was functioning, how many students were there as children that he simply adored. While I was at this position I had at the foundation in New York, one of the things I was doing was getting Washington people to let me know how the people were getting along, the distinguished visitors from outside the United States when they would come to visit in the different schools. And one of the ones that characterized Dr. Lowenfeld as the person, as the man, was there was a lady from England. They always sent me their written reports later. And she talked about the big buildings, the big school buildings they had, and how wonderful they were. Well, in the Midwest and South, they had new school plants long before they had them in California. But she said, instead, California had a wonderful school, and she added, I must say, when I saw Dr. Lowenfeld on the playground and with the children in the classrooms, I have to say Dr. Lowenfeld runs his school with love. And I felt that was a good description of what I saw as he'd walk through the classrooms and see the children, and that they would all speak to him. Then I like to think of the times that when he came to the school, and Leo has mentioned him, I won't go into this, but all the participation he made here at the school. And I will add to what Phil said, that when he retired, we knew very well he wasn't going to retire. And Phil, having been principal at his school before he came here, and Dr. Lowenfeld were talking about the possibility of a good Braille reading study. So we got to talking and got to study, and the book that resulted from that, as Phil and I sat there feeling, I wasn't one of them, I was one of the two that were sitting there and worshiping Dr. Lowenfeld's scholarship as we pursued this project. So Blind Children Learn to Read was a book that culminated this interest. I'd like to mention two other books that I think showed his very long, great interest. And one is I don't know of anyone who championed more and loved more the preschool blind child and his family, the problems there. He called the first national conference dealing with problems of preschool blind children. And that culminated in his book, The Preschool Blind Child, which has been read by so many parents. And then, being a psychologist with a great deal of reputation, and also a philosopher of some note. He had a great feeling for the sociological and psychological aspects of blindness in our society. Many friends among them, and knew many people in the school programs. So all of this interest, after writing many articles, culminated in the status of the blind in from segregation to integration. Wow, what a title. I'm sorry I stumbled on it. Wish I had thought of it. And finally, I think I have to say a word about the donors since this has come to your school. The one claim I have, Phil, if I have any, when I was here, is I struggled to try to keep library, some little bit of library here for students. When I first came here, many students were coming here from classrooms, having taught all day, driving over the freeways from great distances, taking both a 4 o'clock class and a 7 o'clock class in the same day, and then hardly having time to grab a sandwich and much less get to the library. So we did all kinds of things. I had started them and Phil collaborated with them, like violating most of the copyright provisions we knew about and copying so many things the students just had to read. Also, the reason for the motivation is that we are a small, low-incidence group. And that means that publishers don't publish many books in a given title. And those books get away very fast, and then you can't buy any more of them. So I will say that this library, I'm sure, will be absolutely impossible to replace if we lose any. I salute the students here at San Francisco State and their faculty who have the privilege to use these books, to enjoy them. Not only will you be able, as a result of this, to do a better job, to represent with strength the persons you serve, but you will also be inspired in the knowledge that the most prolific writer in both the national and international field, not only in the specialized area we represent, but outside it, not only has contributed richly to it, but has also shared it generously. So read, improve your skill, and be inspired by it, because it deserves every bit of it. Thank you for asking me.
Georgie has brought up a point that I would like to elaborate on a little bit. When we finish this short program, and that's all it is, it will be short, we promise you. We invite you, in small groups of course, to go next door and take a look at this library. It has to be small groups because we have small offices. And so, but do go in and take a look at it. I think what we have next door now represents the best professional library in education of the visually handicapped that I have seen in any university in the United States. And there are two reasons for that. One, Georgie started it. And when George Liebel was here, that library grew and thrived, and it was very well used. What Dr. Lowenfeld has done is filled in many, many gaps in journal, in back journals, and in some books and things. And what we've been able to do is really compile two libraries into one that I think rivals any library you'll find. You'll notice that it's not Dewey Decimal System. It's categorized by topic, which makes it, I think, very easy to use. If your interest is preschool blind, there's a section, preschool blind. If your interest is orientation and mobility, there's a section on orientation and mobility, and so forth. So I think you'll find it a very pleasant and easy to use facility. You'll find, for Sight-Saving Review and for Exceptional Children, two of our journals, we have them bound up to a certain time. Probably about 10 years ago we stopped binding them. But what we have is the most recent year in loose leaf form. We're not going to go on binding those because, quite frankly, we don't find much in them of particular use to students in those two. Journal of Visual Impairment and Blindness and the Education of Visually Handicapped journal you'll find right up to date. and no volumes missing. The entire publication history of New Outlook for the Blind, the Teachers Forum, and Journal of Visual Impairment and Blindness. What you will find with JVIB, though, is that it goes up to 1980, and then there's a loose leaf section of 1985s. 1981, 82, 83, and 84 are in Lynn Laird's garage. Lynn Laird enjoys the privilege of being married to one of the best binders that I have ever seen, Andy Laird, and he does our binding for us. Look at the job he does, because they're beautiful. And eventually, in a few weeks or perhaps a month or two, we'll have them complete right up to date. But that's where those missing journals are right now, and we're very pleased we have someone like Andy close by that we can call on to do this service for us. Yeah, but please go in and look around next door. I think you'll be very impressed. There's a section that's been glassed in. Kelly's husband did the shelving for that, and it was installed last night, and we're very pleased with that. Behind that glass will go Berthold Lowenfeld's favorite picture of himself, a plaque which we are enjoying today, but it's going back tomorrow because it has a misspelled word. They must have been thinking about Herb Thier. That's what somebody said, because they misspelled the word T-H-E-I-R. Also behind that glass shelf is a framed picture of Helen Keller, and I need to explain to you two reasons why it's there. Berthold took the picture on the campus of the California School for the Blind and gave it to us. And also behind the other reason is that behind the glass shelves is a collection of Helen Keller's writings. And Berthold and I were talking about this, and we really think it's probably the most complete collection of Helen Keller writings outside of the Miguel Library at AFD. We're very proud of that, so we put it behind lock and key. Also behind the glass shelves are some original manuscripts of Dr. Lowenfeld's, which we are very proud to own and we are very proud to share, but we decided we'd put them behind glass. Berthold, you're a friend and you're my professional colleague, and it's hard to think of something new to say about you. As you know, I've done this many times. And I just want to say one thing before I turn the floor over to you, and that is that as a dear friend, I have been around you a lot, and I know what books mean to you. I know what your own personal and professional library has meant to you over the years. This is a man who doesn't just have books, he uses books. And he enjoys books. And for this man to give his most precious possession to us, I think has very special meaning. You've been honored. You've received almost every honor that our profession has to offer. And as I was thinking about today, it seems to me that this time you have honored us. And it's we who benefit and you who have given the honor. The plaque says, "A gift to blind children through their teachers." Sally's phrase, I love it. And I love the meaning of that. This is not a gift to me or to you, it's a gift to blind children. And it's through us that they will benefit from that gift. Berthold, I'll promise you one thing. This is a library that will be used, and used well. And children will grow and thrive because of it, because the teachers who go through this program will be better prepared. We're so pleased to have it, and we thank you.
Thank you all very much. You for coming, Leo and George Lee and Phil for greeting me so warmly and giving me such warm words of recognition, and Sally, of course, for the beautiful wording in this plaque, and Telly for the lovely and beautiful way in which he has arranged the library. I took a few minutes off and looked it over in privacy there, and I was really very grateful for the arrangement that you have made. And I can well understand what Phil said about your functions in his office. My connection with San Francisco State is not a connection, it's an affinity. I have a certain affinity from the beginning with the people who work here at San Francisco State, and particularly with its function. That means with the education and with the upbringing of teachers for blind and visually handicapped children. This has always been a topic that was very close to me, and I have felt such a nearness to San Francisco State College and then university that that there was never any doubt in my mind that whatever library I have assembled will come to San Francisco State. Although I live closer to UC, but UC doesn't have the interest of young and coming teachers in our field that San Francisco State has by its functioning and by its design. The affinity was not only by the fact that I shared my professional interest with San Francisco State Special Education Department, but also by my close relationship to the staff that was carrying on the functions of the San Francisco State University. That Georgia Lee was here, that before her, Florence Henderson was here, and we were very close together and worked together in many ways. That Leo Kane was here at the university and at the college at that time, of course, and was a warm-hearted and great leader in our field, not only in the field of education of visually handicapped, but in special education in the United States. That Pete was here at this institution, and when I was looking for a mobility instructor, he was not only most helpful, but intervened actively in getting a good person to the school. All these threads formed a real tie between the California School for the Blind and San Francisco State College. The tie was the stronger because we aimed both at the same goal. That means placing as many children as possible, not in a residential school, but in the regular public school provisions. And that was what the California School for the Blind was working for. And that is why it has not expanded to the extent to which some other schools expanded at that time. I'm very glad that the students of San Francisco State will have a library that will make it easier for them to do their work, that they can consult the books that have meant so much to me in the library over there, and that you will all benefit from the wisdom that is collected in the many thousand pages of the books that are in this library. I'm most grateful to Phil for arranging this takeover of my books, because now I have never parted easily with books. Yeah. And I must say that when I moved from our house in Berkeley to our present residence, and Greta can vouch for that, that my greatest shock and my greatest disappointment was that I had to part with many books. And I'm not now talking about the professional books, because I'm a book collector of literature too. And the books that I had to give up, that was one of the most severe shocks that I have experienced in my life. But I got over it, And this gives me a chance to thank my good wife, Greta, for all the love that she has always given to me and that have made hard times less hard and good times more intensely good. I want to thank you again for coming this afternoon, and I hope that you can enjoy the very beautifully decorated cake here. There's some coffee here, and we'll all have a social now.
I also wanted to say just one word about how pleased I am that Greta is here and how much I know that this is a partnership and a close and loving partnership. I want to tell you two quick stories about this library. One is a student came in yesterday and she said, I'm really interested in physical education for blind children. Has a book ever been written? I looked around in my chair and I reached right down there and there was Charlie Buell's Physical Education for Blind Children. Handed it to her with some misgivings. I thought, what am I doing handing out a book when we're having a library dedication tomorrow? And then I thought, well, Berthold would approve of this because this book is out and being read right now. We opened the cover and there was an inscription to Dr. Lowenfeld from Charlie Buell. How many more books in there are we going to find that as we crack the covers? Probably quite a few.
Yeah.
The other thing about books and Berthold, last June, I guess it was, Tony and I were over visiting, and I happened to mention to him that we were going to Maine to visit my brother in August. He got out of his chair, went back in his other room to one of his library shelves. You think he parted with a lot of books. You should see the books he still has and where they are. Anyway, he came back with a book entitled The Country of the Pointed Firs. And he said, I think you'll enjoy this. It's a book about Maine around the turn of the century. But all I had to do was mention a topic and he knew where to find a book about it. And I thoroughly enjoyed reading Berthold's book while we were on vacation. Thank you for coming.
Bill,
Thank
may
you.
May I just add
Sally?
I just want Gretel to know that the flowers are especially for you. In gratitude for your housing this treasure of the library and seeing they were dusted all this year.
They're beautiful. Thank you very much, Sally. I've enjoyed taking the colors. Lovely.
Thank you. Visit the library.